Evening again, and welcome back to the One Take Livecast. It's me, Jax, and tonight we are joined again by my friend Laura, famously for the Ember Collective and Maya Fusion Belly Dance. But tonight she's going to be joining us for an episode covering the topic of martial arts. Request to join, accept her now. Laura is a black belt in
Wait for her to join. Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
All right? Yes?
I'm
Loud and
good.
clear.
Amazing. Let me just turn this up right. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. I think this is how many times have you been on the show now?
I think I've been on more than anyone.
I think you have, because I think this is 5.
It might be.
It could be
might
5.
be, yeah.
It could be 5 or 6. I don't know, but I think you've got the record now of most been on the show.
Yeah. No one can take that away from me. I will always be
Yeah.
champion.
Speaking of which, are you wearing your academy gear?
I am. I thought I'd represent the club.
Nice.
Yeah. Taekwondo Wales. Yeah.
Yes. So before we get on to Taekwondo, obviously the topic covering this is about martial arts and how it's a very disciplinary course, a very spiritual course, but also a very confidence-building course. I mean, this is a question for you. In your opinion, why is martial arts very important?
Oh God, there's so many levels. I think you're right. It's the confidence. It gives, particularly young kids, because obviously with our club, there's a lot of children come to our club. It gives kids confidence in themselves and what they can achieve. I think because we have the belt system, there's always a goal to hit. So when they hit that goal and they pass and they get a new belt, that's the confidence building part. I think also it's the self-discipline as well. So it teaches you about self-control. Within Taekwondo, we have 5 tenets of Taekwondo that we follow. And that is one of them, is about self-control. So it teaches you how to be a good person and not to get angry, to control your emotions, that kind of thing. And physical, I think, especially when you're adults, I think, not so much children, because children are quite active, but I think when we become adults, we can become quite, not lazy, because it's not lazy as in we don't mean to be, but we're so busy with work and life that we don't sort of give ourselves time. Do you know what I mean? To actually dedicate to physical activity. So I think that's
slower.
Yeah, and I think where it's like with people like, oh, I really want to do that, but I haven't got time. And I think when you're an adult, you've got so many other things going on in your life that it's really hard to dedicate time to yourself to do that physical activity. So I think it's got all those kind of things in one, and like you are right, what you said, it's not just, martial arts isn't just about physical exercise and self-defense, but it's also that spiritual and philosophical side of, it develops you as a person. And I think particularly for children doing it, it's really important that they learn that skill,
Yeah, because it's not fighting. I mean, it's the art of self-defense, but if you're just going to learn martial arts so you just want to fight, then
not for you.
If you're just going to fight people, unless you're not doing it for sport or for being fair, but if you just want to do it so you can learn new moves to hit and bully people, that's not the way. But it is important for self-defense, not just children as well, but men, women, them as well, because there is a lot of, and there are ways to use martial arts where nobody ends up with an assault charge.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that we get taught, is obviously the self-control element in the tenets. So that's one of the things that you have to abide. But we also have a student's oath that every student follows in Taekwondo anyway. And one of them is never misuse Taekwondo, which is exactly what you said. Taekwondo is about self-defense. You defend yourself or someone else. It's never to start a fight. It's never to hurt anyone. It's there to, if you ever needed to, then you need to defend yourself, and that is all it is, you know. So I think that's a really important thing, and I think that's where our oath and our tenets really help the sort of journey in that. So it does teach you that you know it is self-control. It's not about showing off or causing fights. It's just about having it as a you know, something that you might need one day, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've done Taekwondo myself in my youth. When I was a kid, I was a orange belt. I worked up to because in some it's orange first, then yellow, not yellow and orange, because sometimes that's different. In some fields of martial arts, it's yellow then orange, but sometimes it's orange then yellow. So when I was about 13, 14, I did Taekwondo classes after school, just for like after school activities, and obviously I managed to get my orange belt. Don't know where it is anymore, unfortunately. But you know, it was a nice achievement to have. I just felt like that kid getting a certificate in school. It was a very nice achievement. Obviously, haven't done Taekwondo for ages, so my moves are not up to date at all, and you know, it's just a thing. But speaking of, there are many forms of martial arts. And they don't just come from Asia; they come from many places in the world.
Absolutely.
You know, that's the thing. You know, people think martial arts is all from Japan and Korea and China or Hong Kong. It's not, because you've got you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you have Krav Maga, you have Sambo, and these come from parts of Europe and Southeast Asia as well. But you know, there's so much, and obviously a lot of people, and there's also MMA as well, where they incorporate all martial arts into one and everything. But back to the belt system. Now, a lot of people probably understand the belt system, but you know, obviously the belt system is down to levels, like, you know, you're this level, you're building yourself up to the next level. How, like, I'm sure you can speak for many, but for yourself as well, how important is the belt to you?
I think it's really important because it shows your competence, but also shows your hard work as well. So I think, particularly when you get your black belt, I think that, because what they say in Taekwondo is you start learning Taekwondo when you get your first black belt. Everything else before is just building you up to learn. And that is really true, actually, because when I got my black belt and worked with the other black belts from then, that's when I really understood Taekwondo more than I did ever before. So I think the belt system is really good. And I think what it also does, it allows you to gradually build up those skills rather than have it all at once, you know, and then get confused and take too much on. So each belt will bring you something new, a new skill, a new pattern, new techniques, and every time there's always something to work towards. And I think that's what's really important as well, that when you get to a black belt, you know, I'm only a first Dan black belt, I got 8 other Dans to go, you know, so there's always something to learn, because we're all students, you know, even the grandmasters of Taekwondo are still students. So I think that's the important part of the belt system, is that not only is it to sort of mark where you are competently, but it does give you that, well, I have a goal now to reach. And I think that's where I think is really good for children in schools, because it does give them that that push, that if I work hard and I learn this, I'll earn this from it. You know, that's where I gain from my hard work. So I think the belt system is really important in that. And like I said, you know, it allows you to, if you're in a room full of people you've never met in a Taekwondo situation, you can kind of know, well, that person knows the same pattern as me or the same moves as me, so we can work together. So it does allow that collaboration as well, better than if you just walked into a room full of people, like if you went to a conference or a competition and you didn't know where everyone's skill sets were. So it does give you that as well.
What I get from it, what I take from it, older understanding. Now, there are ribbons, there are medals, and there are trophies, and they are great. You know, they're great to have, great to earn, well done for that. But a belt, you wear your belt. When you are, you know, training, you're wearing your belt. When you are in a competition, you wear your belt. When you are, you know, sparring or practicing, etc., you wear your belt, and that belt is a mark of hard work, earnmanship, and reward.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's great to have a trophy, but a belt, that's everywhere you go.
Absolutely. And I think no one can take that belt from you either. You know, like if you become a world champion, the next year someone else could become world champion, you know, and even though you've done it once, someone else takes your spot. Whereas with a belt, like you said, once you've got that belt, that's you, that's who you are, you know. If you stop training forever, I mean, okay, you would lose your skills, but you're still a black belt, you're still a blue belt or wherever you were. So I think it's really important, I think, to like have that pride, because it's hard. It's really hard. You know, the black belt grade in it, you know, it took me, you know, well, it took me about 2 years to actually get ready to have the confidence to do it. But the actual process is months. And I think to get that at the end and say, I worked for that and I earned it, is just, you can't beat that feeling. You really can't. You know, it makes you feel so good about yourself and so appreciative of the work that, you know, your teachers put in as well to support you. So it really, that really is a pivotal moment for anyone in any belt color. You know, whether you're going from yellow belt to green belt, that's still a huge pivotal thing because you've grown. And again, you know, so I think, you know, the belt system is fundamental to all martial arts. I can see stars on you, and she's a black belt in karate, by the way.
Hello. And going back to forms of martial arts, sorry, what karate? Are we talking star? Are we talking Aikido, Shotokan? What's the other one?
Shotokan, I think she did.
Shotokan, yeah. I mean,
it's similar to karate.
Judo, Shotokan, there's all forms of karate. I'm a black belt ninja. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. But there's many Japanese karate. That's the thing. For people understanding martial arts and calling it karate, it's not karate. Karate is the Japanese faction of martial arts. So such as Judo, Aikido, and Shotokan. Oh, Shotokan. That is a great practice art form. For Chinese Kung Fu, they call it, you have, like, for example, which Bruce Lee studied, was Wing Chun and Kempo. Those are the...
Yeah, and with Taekwondo as well, there's different factions of Taekwondo. So you've got ITF, you've got World Taekwondo, you've got TAGB style Taekwondo. So I think every martial art is a kind of umbrella for lots of other things, you know. So it's really interesting. There's so many different styles of martial arts across the world, you know.
It's a variety. But in the UK, when martial arts were sort of starting out or becoming after-school classes, now there's a plethora of options. But back then, like before us, the only two most popular or available at the time was Judo or Taekwondo. So, you know, obviously, I can't ask about Judo because that's not your field. I mean, but why is Taekwondo one of the most popular martial arts, and especially in the United Kingdom?
I think one of the reasons is, and I think this is where a lot of people don't really understand the history of Taekwondo, because I think what a lot of people think, they think is an ancient martial art like karate and judo and other things, but Taekwondo was only developed in the 1950s. And I think that helps because it's quite new. So what General Choi Hong, he's the creator of Taekwondo, and he was a general in the Korean Army, and he went to Japan. He learned karate, and he gained a black belt. It's said that he gained a black belt second dan in karate, but that's a bit of, we're not quite sure exactly what belt he got to, but he definitely got a black belt. We're just not quite sure what dan. And he studied other forms of martial arts from Korea, and then he developed Taekwondo to teach the Korean Army. And I think what he did was, which was really clever, he brought lots of different masters in, taught them Taekwondo, and they went out into the world really and sort of taught across the world. So in the UK in the 1960s, we had Master Riki Ha, and he came over to teach Taekwondo. So I think that's where we've become quite popular in, is that what he did was bring so many elements of different martial arts together, which then satisfied so many people. So it sort of encompassed a lot of things.
Mm.
And I think that's why, people took to it really. And then, we did have a lot of splinter groups, so like I said earlier, you had ITF, WTF, TAGB, all these other different acronyms that I don't know, sort of do their own thing, but that helped the popularity because even though they did their own thing, they were still promoting Taekwondo, So yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons why it became so big and popular.
Because, well, how long have you been doing Taekwondo for?
Oh gosh, I did it for about 4 or 5 years when I was young, till about 15. Got up to my red stripe and then I gave up. And then I went back to Taekwondo then just before lockdown. So literally, me and Craig both started 2 months before lockdown. We trained all through lockdown on Zoom with our master, and that's it really. So yeah, so it's my time in Taekwondo has been quite fractured. I started when I was young, gave up, started again when I was older. But Craig's been doing it now for 3 years, and Freya, my daughter, she's been doing it for 5 years now.
And what rankings are your husband and daughter?
So Craig is a black stripe, so he's doing his black belt grading imminently, so in the next few months. And then Freya is a red stripe, so she's 3 belts off of black. So we're all getting at the our end of it now.
And that's impressive for for her youth as well.
Definitely. I think it helps as well that we both do it with her. I think it helps because we all train together, and I think that's something I didn't have when I was young. Like, even though my mum and dad were really, really supportive of me, I would come home and like do a pattern, and they didn't know if it was right or wrong. They were like, "Oh, that's really good," but didn't know the ins and outs of it. So I think where Freya has got an advantage that she's got me and her dad sort of helping her and supporting her through that. So I think that is really helpful for her and her progression, because I think hopefully it'll help her stay and stick with it rather than do the teenage thing of giving everything up because everything's uncool.
Yeah, I know, because obviously I did that when I was a teenager, and did I enjoy it? Yes, but because I liked a lot of things, or I was a bit more of an introvert at the time and everything, and I got to be honest, even though I did earn my orange belt, and same when I was an infant, when I tried to, I took martial arts for granted. I was one of those people that just wanted to be one of those TV ninjas and everything, and I was just like, I want to hit stuff,
Cobra
I want to break stuff. I was bored, or like the episode of Simpsons where Bart tries to learn karate and then he gets bored out of it thing. Nevertheless, I would kick my past self and go, should have done better at that. But, earning the belt was pretty good. But after that, it's not that I didn't lose interest. It's just, I just didn't have time, or stuff got in the way. But
it just happens, isn't it? I think that's where a lot of people give up. Not give up, but a lot of people, young kids give up.
Stray.
They tease. Yeah, they tease, innit?
Stray from the
other things become important to you. Yeah.
I mean, you did it in lockdown where everything was thing, and that's pretty good. You did it in lockdown. You earned your belt. I mean, to do that within 2 years, I mean, it takes, in some classes and some forms of martial arts, it takes years to earn this belt.
Yeah.
It takes years to earn that belt. But to do that within 2 years, and you're still going for it as well, but to earn a black belt, it's very impressive.
Oh, thank you. But to be honest, I think it's a mixture. I think obviously it takes a lot of self motivation, which we all trained really hard 5 days a week over lockdown. Trying to do classes online and stuff. We've got a really good club. So Taekwondo Wales in Aberbargide, are amazing club run by Pete and Pat, Master Pete. They're very, very, very encouraging teachers, very supportive, and we've got a really good club, so that the other students are really supportive as well. So what I really valued in my grading, which I thought was amazing, because coming from a dance background and work and horse riding, these kind of sectors can be quite competitive, and what I really enjoyed was when I did my black belt grading, there was 9 of us went for a black belt grading, different levels of black belt, and not one person was in competition with anyone else. We were all supporting each other. We were all there for each other. So even when someone fell, we'd all help pick them back up. And I think that was really, really what made me think this is a really supportive place to be. And I honestly think that's why I did so well, was because not just for myself, but for them, that the community around me was pushing me as well, you know, which was really, really beautiful, really, because you don't get that in many places, do you? That entire community coming behind you.
And with Taekwondo, I mean, you're using all parts right, but predominantly it is kicking, isn't it? You know, why? Obviously, in martial art forms, they pretty much focus on a signature. You know, like with judo, it's throwing. Why is if to those aren't historically Taekwondo, get my words out there. Why is kicking the predominant move in Taekwondo?
I'm not really that sure, to be honest. And I think it depends what style of Taekwondo you do. So in ITF Taekwondo, which is what we do, I would say it's probably 50-50 with kicks and hand techniques. Because the actual name Taekwondo means hand, foot, fist, art. So it means, you know, the hand and the fist, the way of the hand and the fist. So what General Choi developed was very much a martial art around hands, feet, blocking, and offensive. World Taekwondo, which is what the Olympians, you know, the Olympic Taekwondo, that is very much kick based. You very rarely see them punch. And I think because of the Olympic style, I think that's why, because that's so popular, people do tend to link Taekwondo more with kicks. And there are a lot of kicks in Taekwondo, I won't lie to you, there's a lot of kicks. But in our style, I would say is probably 50-50, roughly. I mean, yeah, so we've got a lot of different hand techniques, you know, with, you know, back fists, punches, a knife hands, you know, eye pokes, whatever that, I can't remember what that's called. You know, so we've got all these different things. Ouch. So that one would hurt. So yeah, so it's but again, you know, I think we are good at our kicks as well, because again, what General Choi did was bring a lot of different types of kicks into it from his other studies as well. So you know, a lot of Taekwondo athletes are very good at kicks.
You know, but like you said, with your other backgrounds as such in horse and dance, and earning your belt and working hard over like to become a, you know, because you are a trained martial artist as well. You know, would you in years to come, or would you ever decide to start your own classes and open your own? I don't know if this is the correct term. I'm going to use it. Dojo. It's
very close. It's dojang in Taekwondo. Dojang, so it's really close. It's really close.
Pardon?
Yeah. I think, you know, I you know, as you know, I've taught belly dance for years. And I think, you know, teaching does come quite natural to me. So I think one day in the future, maybe, I do cover classes for our current club. So I will cover, you know, when Master Pete's away, I can cover classes for him. And I think, you know, I think it's something I definitely do when I'm older. I still feel, like I said earlier, I still feel a bit of a rookie black belt because it's quite new. So I feel like, you know, maybe when I get like first, you know, maybe second or third dan, maybe I'd start thinking about teaching a bit more often. But I think it's definitely something I consider in the future, you know, if there was call for it and if people wanted to do it.
You could do it for an after school program like at your daughter's school.
Yeah, and they always go down really well. You know, Freya goes to an after school club with Master Pete, and it's really nice to see the kids do it because, you know, they're learning skills they might not get, because not all of them go to the dojang. They might only go to the after school club, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that schools learn it and kids learn it because, you know, again, going back to that, what we said earlier, it's not just about the self-defense, but it's that the philosophy around self-control, courtesy, integrity. You know, we teach all these things through our martial art as well.
Yeah, I mean, there is a very philosophy when you read about any martial arts, like you know, I mean, in the East, the Far Eastern ones, there's a lot of you know, philosophy. In a way, it's what I would call and I hope this doesn't sound cliche or anything, the path of the peaceful warrior in a way. Like
Yeah.
you are learning to fight and you are learning to defend yourself, but you are finding a very peaceful, zen, calming path about it.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's where I really enjoy that more spiritual side of it, because I think, and obviously, I know yourself, you've been part of the pagan community as well, and I think that kind of links back to my old pagan roots as well. Of that philosophy is really important, I think, to live life. Even though I'm not religious at all, I think it's important to live life with certain standards and belief in certain things. And I think that's why I love what General Choi did with Taekwondo, was he brought in his philosophy of how he saw the world. So when you see our ITF, I don't know if I've got a picture of it on me. I don't know if you can see it on my belt. Can you see that little blue sign?
Yeah, the blue.
I don't know if you can see that clearly.
Am I reading the yellow or the blue?
Yeah. All of it.
The blue. Is that
Yeah, so that's the entire badge there. So everything on that badge means something. So the blue means it's meant to represent the turtle's shell, which means longevity. It's General Choi's fist in the middle, holding South and North Korea together because he hoped for peace. And that kind of thing. So it's like everything in Taekwondo, like on the surface, seems like just fighting, but when you dig deep, everything means something. So I don't know if you've seen the picture I sent you where I hold my hands like this.
yes.
And the start of that pattern is called Heaven Hands. And what you're doing is you're looking at a mountain in Korea, where Lake Cheongji is. And Lake Cheongji is a sacred lake in Korea. So every little thing we do, it means something, and for example, when we do this, yes, so South Korea. And I think with this, we start some patterns like this. So we put our left hand over our right hand, because if we put your right over your left, that's how the Koreans are buried. So we do it the other way. So
And
doesn't.
Is that part of the bow process as well?
So when we bow, we put our hands to our side. The bowing is actually quite simple, really. But we always bow when we go into a dojang as well, of a mark of respect for your instructor and master. Bow when you leave. So there's a lot of
but never take your eyes off.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's standards, and I think it's really nice because there's like a universal language then as well. So in any dojang you go, and anywhere in the world, whether it's in Wales, in Korea, in North America, in Australia, everyone will follow the same philosophy and way about them.
Yeah,
which I think is really important.
Bowing, well, not just Taekwondo, but a lot of martial arts. Bowing is a formality. Even if you are not friends with the person outside or have any professional respect in real life, respect must be shown in the dojan or the dojo or the circle.
Absolutely. And I think that's something we've really missed, haven't we, in modern life, because there's not much of that anymore. I think people are running around, they're so busy, they're so tired, they're so stressed. We don't always show each other courtesy, whereas I think that's where it's really nice to go. I love going to the dojang. I'd go there every day if I could, because you're with people who are all equally respectful of each other, and you bow, like we know that we bow to the black belts, we bow to the instructor, we respect each other, that kind of thing. There's always that. No, everyone is following that. No, not at all. And it's just respect. And what I like about it is, none of the higher black belts. There's no, oh look at me, I'm a third dan. There's none of that. It's we're all here together. No, not at all.
No jocks.
Absolutely not. I don't think they wouldn't last in our club, because we don't. Our club is about support and helping each other. And I think, being cocky doesn't get you anywhere, does it?
No, and another thing as well, not just kids, but maybe there are adults maybe adults over the age of 40 or 50 who still have the strength, want to try something new. They shouldn't be shy or feel, intimidated if they want to take up the path of martial arts or taekwondo?
Well, one of the ladies I graded with, so on my black belt grading, I had a partner called Deb, and at the time she was 58 when she did her black belt grading, you know. And I always say to people when they say to me, like, you know, in their 30s and 40s, oh, I'm too old to start that, I'm like, go and tell Deb that because she just got her black belt. You know, it's not an age thing. I think anyone, as long as you're mobile, you know, you could do martial arts, and you don't have to reach a black belt. You know, if you only can get to a green belt, it's still going to teach you a lot of fundamental life skills, you know, however high you want to go, you know. And I think that's where there's no pressure either. So there's no pressure that everyone has to become a black belt. You get to where you want to go, you know, and then you just keep training. And if you want to go further, you can. If you don't, you can just keep training and stay at a level. That's fine. So, you know, it's a very accessible sport for anyone, because there's no pressure to be an elite athlete, you know.
And you said you did it when you were younger, and then you strayed and everything. When you were younger, what belt did you work up to then, when you were a teen?
Before I quit was red stripe. So I quit when I was a red stripe, which is really frustrating because I was only 3 off black. So I look back and think, God, I could be a master of my own dojang now, really, but I didn't do it.
No, but
yeah, so
starting out as a white belt, what was it like the day you earned your orange belt?
I can't remember. To be honest, I was so young when I started. I was only about 9 or 10 when I started. All I remember of my old club, it was a really old school club I went to. I just remember always doing 100 press-ups when we did our warm-up, and I hated it. I remember thinking, oh my God. It was quite a tough club, but I can't really remember, to be honest. When I got to this club, and I started back on my red stripe, but I worked up from being a white belt up to that before I could grade. When I first got my red belt, then that was amazing, because I remember thinking, like, oh my God, I've achieved this. I thought I'd written myself off for so many years. You know, I literally did. And I only went back to taekwondo because of Master Pete, because I started taking Freya when she was 4 to after school club, and I'd sit back before COVID, and I used to sit in the hall on the bench, on the old school benches, watching it. And I was just chatting to Pete once, and I just said, oh, I used to do taekwondo, Pete, when I was a kid. And he was like, oh, what did you do? Blah, 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 blah. And then he just looked at me and he said, come back and I'll get you a black belt. And I just remember saying, oh God, no, I haven't got time. You know, the usual adult thing, isn't it? I haven't got time for that. I'm too busy. And he said, well, that's fine. But he said, if you want to come back, I'll help you get to that black belt. You know, and fair play to him, he kept his word. You know, he got it, you know, he got me there. And I think that's where, you know, that's what it's about, isn't it? It's that feeling of achievement at any belt, not just black belt, any belt, you've got that sense of achievement.
And did Craig have experience in martial arts before, or was this a first for him?
Absolutely brand new when I took him. I dragged him to the first class with me, and to be fair to him, he fell in love with it just like I did. He's more into he loves sparring. He loves breaking. I like my patterns, and I think that's the dancer in me. I like patterns because I feel like I'm dancing, just doing taekwondo moves. And I do like breaking as well. But yeah, to be fair to Craig, he's worked really hard at it. And he really took to it, and I think he was bullied a lot when he was a kid, and I think he wishes he'd done it then, because he could have done more, you know. But now I've seen him grow in confidence as well. Like, since he's been doing this, he's a lot more confident than he was before he did it. You know, he can walk into a room now and have more command on it than he could before, which I think is really important.
And to be a black belt within 2 years and never done martial arts in your life, that is very impressive.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it'll be like 3 years when he does pass. But yeah, I mean, he's worked really. And again, it goes back to that thing, doesn't it? Is you know, if you really want something and you really, really want to work for it, you'll get it. You know, you'll achieve it. And I think, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think classes are important, because if obviously there's a lot of people out there that live in smaller houses or, you know, not much space to train in,
Yeah.
I think it's important to go to class. Even if you're feeling a bit rusty in your moves and everything, you could always ask the people, if you're friends with your classmates and everything, train with them and everything. But,
Absolutely.
you know, classes are important because, like you said,
Yeah.
even though you've achieved this, you're still a student, you're still learning. This is the same when people take art classes or dance classes or, you know, like I said, horse classes. But back to sparring, has there ever been a particular sparring session you're very proud of, like it felt very good, it felt very organic, and both of you as sparrers worked really good?
Yeah, I think the last squad training I did, because what our club does, we do kind of like once every few weeks a squad training session on a Sunday morning, and that's basically for people who want to compete. So it's very focused on your sparring and your patterns in a much more critical detail. So like, you know, it's the kind of class you go to if you want to be critiqued. You know, the normal classes are still like that, but not so harsh. But you know, if you want to compete, you've got to be like, you know. And yeah, and I think the last class, I felt really good about my sparring in that class because I'm not the best sparrer. It's never been my forte personally. I'll do it, and I'm okay at it, but like it's just not something that, you know, thrills me really. But yeah, I mean, I've never competed in sparring. Well, that's a lie. I did when I was a young kid, but since I've been an adult, I haven't competed in sparring. It's something I'm toying with for next year because we have the World Championships coming up next year, and I do feel like you know, now I'm fit and young enough to do it. Should I do it? So watch this space. By next year, I might go to the World Championships and I might spar.
I think you should do it.
We'll see. We'll see.
You've come this far.
Very true, definitely. And I think, you know, yeah, you only live once, don't you?
Yeah, and if you can open shows for bands or teach classes in belly dance, I think you can take part in a world championship. But that's my biased opinion. Oh, you're welcome.
I will. I'll give it a go.
Patterns. Can you elaborate on patterns, please?
Yeah, of course. So in karate, they're called katas. In taekwondo, they're called toes. And it's basically just the same. It's just a Korean word for pattern. So every belt has a pattern attached to it, which you learn. And then you perfect it for your grading along with some other stuff. So basically what a pattern is a series of movements, both defensive and offensive, against an imaginary opponent. So every move you do will be something you would use against an opponent. And essentially what it is about building up that muscle memory that if you were ever in that kind of situation where you had to block a kick, block a punch, throw a punch, that you automatically do it. So it's very much like a dance. I think that's why I like it. It's very much a choreographed piece of movement, and then each belt you get more and more advanced. So yes, the further the belt you go, the more advanced the patterns become with, you know, harder movements or more intricate patterns, that kind of thing. But I think they're in ITF Taekwondo, they are looked at as quite important because of our element of muscle memory. And it's a way, I think, as well, of perfecting your moves. So when you're doing your stances, when you're doing your movements, you know, they are in the encyclopedias, you know, there are very specific things you need to do, you know, certain angles of your feet, certain angles of your hands. So it helps you go through the same movements over and over again and make them better and better as well. So that's essentially what a pattern is, really.
And obviously you have demonstrations in classes. I mean, obviously when you're demonstrating, does it just feel no different to when you're doing a belly dance demonstration or when you're attending dance class and everything? It just feels quite natural. Or is there?
Yeah.
Obviously it's different, but does it feel natural as well?
Yeah, it does. I think, again, I think it's like everything is the practice, isn't it? I think the more you practice something, the more you just do it. So like kind of like with dancing, like when it was funny because me and Star were rehearsing on the weekend and we were learning a new song. At the end of rehearsal, we were like, we were not thinking about it anymore because we knew it, because the muscle memory come in. And I think very much similar with Taekwondo too. I think you do a new pattern and for a while it's very clunky and very awkward and you go wrong. But then eventually, people will go, right, today, like, do Hwarang, and I'll just go right into it and it's done. It's natural. Do Churu, yeah, and Hwarang, yeah, because it's Hwarang is a pattern. Hwarang,
a character in Tekken.
Yeah. But it's also a youth group that was in Korea in the 7th century.
Really?
And they were said to have been a young group of fighters. So there's some history behind his name. So and that's what I like about the patterns as well. So every pattern has a name, and every name of a pattern has a meaning. So every pattern is named after someone or something important to Korea or Korean history. And I think again, I love history and I love a bit of like dark pasts and stuff. And I think it's really cool to see like each pattern, to learn the history behind each one, because it gives it more, when you're doing the pattern then it gives it more like a philosophical meaning as well as just doing movements. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Kind of funny, off topic a little.
We like a tangent, don't we?
Yeah. When you play Tekken and you play as Hwarang and you're doing the moves, have you ever gone, that's not a Taekwondo move?
Do you know what? I find Hwarang actually pretty good. Most of his moves are pretty good moves.
But are they accurate?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I haven't played as Hwarang for a long time. I always go as Ling Xiaoyu because, I think she's the best.
Traitor.
I know. I'm really sorry. But I'm gonna have to play Tekken again and let you know. I'll do a bit of a critique.
I'll play.
Yeah. Should we have a Tekken fight?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's got to be number 3. Got to be number 3. I can bring the PS1 over.
Brilliant. Love it. We should do that. But yeah, and I find it funny. Do you know what I find funny? I love Cobra Kai. I really do, right? But I've always found it funny how they, like, one class they're all white belts and the next day they're black belts. And I've always thought, God, that's a really quick grading process. you never see like a yellow belt, do you, on Cobra Kai?
No, I would have liked to have seen I'd have liked to have seen a yellow belt Hawk. Hawk?
Yeah.
Hawk. I have trouble saying that word. Hawk.
Yeah.
Hawk. It's so hard to say that word. Hawk or Hawk.
Yeah, American style.
I know. Sorry, Americans. Yeah, I mean, also, as you said, you have a background in belly and alternative dancing as well. Now, with Taekwondo, can you, obviously you're learning a lot, your thing, but does it have to be strict to the move code, or can you use improvisation? Have I said that right? Improvisation. So have you used moves from your dancing to incorporate in the move in your pattern?
So not in the patterns. So the patterns are very prescriptive. So they are very, very specific. So even down to how you move your feet. So for example, if I'm just trying to think what pattern it would be. Chungmu, in Chungmu pattern, there's like a side kick and a back kick. Then you go into another turning kick, a back kick into another turning kick. And after the back kick is very specific, even where you put your feet before you do the next turning kick. So patterns are very prescriptive and have to be to the point. But then we have something called step sparring, and essentially what that is two opponents, and it's sparring, but which is set. So you're not fighting each other. So the first person might go with a punch and a kick, and then you have to block that punch and kick however you want. So there's more scope for improvisation in that, but even then it's still quite prescriptive because you have to hit the hand at the right place. So if I block a punch, I need to make sure I block it there and not on my wrist, because if I hit my wrist, it'll hurt. So the certain places on your arm. So I think it is quite prescriptive because of the need. It needs to be because of what you're doing, attacking and defending. I mean, I guess the most improvisation you would do would be in a sparring match, because you could use your dodging, ducking, and I think anything you do, dance, the gym, any other sport, it helps, because the quicker you are on your feet, the more what's the word, like the more stamina you've got, the more flexibility you've got, will help all of the taekwondo. So I think I'm quite lucky. So from my age, I kick quite high, and I think that's from dance, because with dance you have to be quite flexible, and I think that's why I've achieved high kicks, is because of dance. So there's definitely a bit of crossover in a fitness sense, I think. But then I think so there's a little bit, I would say, a little bit of influence.
Oh, that's really that's good. Good to know. Good to know and everything. Just got to think, because I really had another serious one in my.
That's okay.
I remember. Okay,
Yeah.
Here we go. Other than Taekwondo, which you've trained hard for, very proud of, what is a martial art you greatly admire? Another one.
Oh, I definitely say Kung Fu. I absolutely love Bruce Lee.
Legend.
I just think he's a legend. Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite belly dancers actually uses Bruce Lee a lot in her practice. So she uses martial arts as a way of developing her balance and her flexibility and stuff. And she admires Bruce Lee as well. And I think I've always wanted to do Kung Fu, but it's very difficult to find a school in Wales, because it is still quite underground, I think, isn't it? I mean, unless you are in China or North America, it's quite difficult. Yeah, it's quite difficult to actually get a good class. So I think Kung Fu is definitely something I'd love to try, because I just love Bruce Lee and I love his philosophy on life.
Yes.
So that'd be the one I would go for.
He was pretty much the first person to teach Kung Fu, or how he pronounces it, in the West, because it was very, due to, his nation's-based standards, like it was pretty much forbidden to teach outsiders, everything.
Yeah.
But Bruce Lee, I mean, if people look past the movie star and the guy in the Kato mask, I mean, he was a very philosophical, very well-learned student of life and everything. And I'm sure most of us know that quote, be fearless, mindless, be like water. You
be like water,
in a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. That quote has stuck by me, even if I have not practiced. It's a very strong philosophical,
absolutely.
It should be in the book of philosophy, personally.
I agree, and I think that's where I think he really helped martial arts become popular, didn't he? Because of he wasn't just like you said, he was an amazing movie star and everything. But I think that helped, and I think maybe that's probably why a lot of martial arts became popular after that point. And I think I think that's probably why Taekwondo becomes so popular, because obviously with the timelines, it was quite similar time frame. And what General Choi did, and like Kung Fu and some other martial arts, where, like you said earlier, they're quite closed, and you shouldn't teach others. General Choi wanted Taekwondo to be worldwide, and he actively encouraged people to apply, to do it. So I think that's where it all became, with kind of the Taekwondo being kind of encouraged and pushed. You had Bruce Lee and other martial artists, becoming famous in movies. It all helped it become a global phenomenon.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like for Japan, there was Sonny Chiba, who a lot of people know as Hattori Hanzo. And but it was very but it was very closed off in some places.
Absolutely.
Like, I think it's because, probably back in history, the nation didn't want the enemy to learn one's own strengths as well as weaknesses and everything. But again, there are so many forms, and you can definitely tell sometimes by a type. Like, obviously, with Taekwondo, it's not just kicking, but it is predominantly mainstreamly recognized by the kicking. With Judo, it's more of the throwing. That's the same with it's the throwing and the grappling. With Jiu-Jitsu, it's a lot of grappling and a lot of thing. With I'm trying to really think of a martial art.
You got Krav Maga, haven't you? Krav Maga is very
Krav Maga,
it's very self-defense, isn't it? It's very much,
close
grabs
quarters
and things like that.
I mean,
definitely. And boxing, you've got boxing as well, which I know isn't a martial art, but a lot of martial artists use boxing as a
Thai boxing.
Yeah. So that's the thing, isn't it? They've all got their own kind of
in Thai
personality.
Boxing, when you wear the headband, that's a big level of respect.
And that's the thing, isn't it? They've all got their own thing,
merit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's you gravitate to whatever you like to do, or what floats your boat, really.
Yeah, but Krav Maga I find quite impressive. Krav Maga is technically mandatory. If you are born in Israel, you have to well, it depends on the policy, but the majority has to attend military service, mandatory. And in that service, they teach you self-defense, and the self-defense is Krav Maga. Even even the famous actress Gal Gadot, she is former Israeli military, and she knows Krav Maga. Wonder Woman, everyone.
Absolutely. And when I did my grading, when I was looking at self-defense, because part of it is self-defense, and I looked at a lot of Krav Maga videos, because I thought, well, that's they are the kings of grabs and getting out of a really difficult grab and putting the opponent down, so
taking weapons off as well.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's a big thing.
Disarming.
Exactly, and that's a big part of self-defense, isn't it? We do a lot of knife skills, so and I find it really, really scary, because oh my God, this knife's coming towards me. But it's a threat. It's a threat out there, and if you can disarm a knife, someone with a knife or a gun, you've got more chance of survival.
You still what that's surviving. I mean, if you want to survive, this is what you must do. You can't.
Absolutely.
Before it's too late, you don't end up in the hospital or in the mortuary. So this is what you must do. But there is, but take away the philosophy, take away the skill, take away the belts, take away it all, and there is still this sort of sense of fulfillment and living when learning a self-defense, and not just obviously Taekwondo, but to anyone watching, or to anyone that has been on here that has got a martial art background and has earned their merits, but also there is a self-satisfaction. Like I said, take away the skills of the thing, there is a self-satisfaction to it. Like, it's nice to receive reward, but if you could say, on the final moments we have, if you could sum up for yourself the personal reward you have done for yourself as a Taekwondo martial artist, what will it be?
I think you're right. I think it's that knowledge that if the worst was to happen, then you know what to do. Because I think how many people would, I don't know, someone grabs me by the throat and pushes me against the wall. I know that it's not a guarantee that I get out of it, but I could pretty much, give it a good go. And I think that's where it gives you that internal feeling of, I'm okay. It does, I think, like, it makes you walk differently. It makes you enter a room differently. It makes you enter like a pub differently. If something's kicking off, I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? Somewhere where someone's kicking off. You feel like, I can handle myself if this goes wrong, and you don't You don't feel scared as much as you would. I mean, you still feel scared, but in a different way, you know. And I think for me that is invaluable, and I think that's why I'm really passionate about women and children doing it, because you know, in my ladies class, for example, because I go to a specific ladies class in the dojo, and we learn specific things, how a man attacks a woman. So you know, men will attack a woman very differently to how they attack another man. So we learn like how you get out of that, how you get out of someone literally, so like we'll literally sit on top of each other like this. How do you get out of that? Because that's what could happen. So I think, to me, that's the most important thing, is that internal strength, and that internal, not just that physical strength, but that that character strength, that you think, you know, if I'm ever in that situation, then hopefully I'll know, you know, my muscle memory will kick in and I will get out of that situation and I will survive to live another day. Because, you know, how many people don't, you know. So I think for me, that's the biggest takeaway for me, is just knowing that if anything happened, then, and that's why I was really passionate about Freya doing it. I thought, if she's ever in that situation, I mean, she's thrown Craig on the floor and he's 6 foot tall and she's only 9. Like, I've seen her put his hand in a gooseneck and get him on the floor. So I think, well, if she can take down a 6 foot father, then I think she's pretty okay, you know?
Yes, but don't do it when you're arguing about doing the dishes.
No, me and Craig have sparred before, and it's not pretty either. So yeah, we try and stay away from each other in the house.
Well, I got to say that this has been one of the best topic episodes. This has been a really good topic episode.
It's really cool, yeah.
It is, not just to talk about, you know, Taekwondo, but about formats of martial arts, of what we do know or what we're learning. But can you shout out where you train and where can they find more information on the classes, please?
Absolutely. So I train with Master Peter Kent Marast. It's Taekwondo, or there you go, Taekwondo Wales, taekwondowales.com. And we train in Aberbargoed. So we have our own dojang in Aberbargoed, up in Philly. So yeah, I mean, the classes are brilliant. He teaches anything from 4-year-olds up to any age. He does, well, his wife Pat does a specific ladies class. There's family classes, there's adult classes, there's classes for everyone up there. So I definitely recommend, if anyone's up this way and wants to have a go, then come along. And it's such a friendly club. Like, it's the most friendly. I went to a lot of clubs when I was a kid. This is the most friendly club I've ever been in. So definitely recommend it. And I'll come on anytime, Jax, to talk about martial arts, because I love it.
I know. Well, thank you for being on, sis. And, you know, best of luck. Best of luck getting your next, you know, ranking and everything. And I'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.